Men think they are being subtle, but the truth is far more exposed than they believe. There are 5 very specific places their eyes lock onto the moment they feel a spark inside them. And you might not understand how fast all of this happens. It doesn't begin with conversation, charm, or confidence. It begins with instinct, with the tiny shifts in their eyes that reveal exactly what is happening in their mind, even before they open their mouth. And the surprising part is how common these patterns are. Different cultures, different ages, different personalities, yet the same quiet magnetism appears every single time a man is honestly turned on. Before we get into the very first place their eyes go, it's important to understand something deeper. Men do not scan a woman randomly. Their attention follows a kind of rhythm, an automatic mapping, a quiet sequence their mind has practiced thousands of times without them even knowing it. And what they look at first is rarely what most women think. Some women assume it is always the obvious. Others believe men are simple or predictable. But that misunderstanding is exactly why these 5 places are so shocking once you finally understand them. Because when a man is truly attracted, his gaze does not behave the way polite behavior taught him to act. It slips, it returns, it stays longer than he meant, and sometimes it freezes for a single extra moment he didn't plan. That one tiny extra moment is where the real truth hides. There is a reason people say a man's eyes reveal his desire long before any word, movement, or tone ever does. But before I reveal the number 1 place men stare when they are turned on, let me say something you might not expect. This is not about judging men. It is about understanding a silent language that has existed for centuries, long before modern dating, long before people even had terms for attraction. A language that shapes desire long before a relationship is even close to beginning. And if you pay close attention, you will start noticing how predictable men become. How clear their attraction looks once you know exactly where to look. Think about the last time you walked into a room and caught a man glancing your way. Maybe he tried to act cool. Maybe he turned his eyes the second you looked back. Or maybe he held your gaze for half a heartbeat longer, as if he wasn't even aware he was doing it. That tiny moment is the doorway to the first place men look when they feel that warm spark. It tells you far more than anything he might say. What's even more interesting is that each man has his own rhythm. Some are bold, some are quiet, some hide behind friendly smiles, and others cannot hide anything at all. And yet, without fail, their eyes follow the same silent order, a sequence that begins in a place most women never expect. Before we go there, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt someone stare at you even when you didn't see it directly? That sudden awareness on your skin, that pull that makes you turn your head. Women feel this far more deeply than they know. And when a man is honestly turned on, his stare carries a different weight, something warmer, slower, more meaningful. It feels like a kind of visual gravity dragging him back toward the same point again and again. Even if he tries to look away, even if he tries to act normal, he is being pulled without control. Most women don't realize how much power they hold in this quiet exchange. They believe they need to talk, impress, or perform to earn a man's attention. But the truth is much simpler. The body speaks long before the voice enters the picture. Men read that silent language with their eyes, and they show their desire with their eyes too. Now we arrive at the beginning of that sequence, the place their gaze almost always returns to first, the spot that silently tells them more about a woman than they ever admit out loud. Because this first place is not only about beauty, it is about instinct, energy, presence, vibe, and pure natural attraction. And once you understand why men look here first, you will never look at their stare in the same way again. A man's eyes do not wander by mistake. They are pulled, guided, almost magnetized towards certain parts of a woman long before he knows why. And while many women think they already know the first place men look, the truth is deeper, more natural, and far more revealing. Because when a man is turned on, his eyes search for cues that go beyond physical beauty. They look for softness, confidence, chemistry, and that quiet invitation that cannot be spoken out loud. And the very first place his eyes fall, almost every single time, is the place that tells him the most about your presence. your face. More specifically, your expression is the first place men stare when they feel that instant pull. Not only the features, but the story behind them, the tiny expressions, the warmth in the eyes, the slight tension around your lips, the gentle softness in your face when you are amused or curious. Men read these signals like a hidden message because the face tells them everything they need to know. Is she open? Is she playful? Is she enjoying this moment too? Is there chemistry or not? And even though the stereotype says men always look at the obvious places, the truth is that the face is the emotional doorway, the anchor. When a man is attracted, his eyes go to your eyes first, not because he is trying to be respectful, but because the eyes show him how much energy exists between you. Eyes carry warmth, excitement, emotion, tension, and that spark that makes your chest tighten for a second. A held gaze, even for 1 or 2 seconds, can create a feeling that is almost physical. But here is where things get even more interesting. After that first moment, after his mind reads the expression, the mood, the emotional temperature, his gaze moves downward in a way so quick and instinctive that even he does not notice it happening. And the next place his eyes go is the one women suspect but rarely understand fully, your lips. Not because of makeup, not because of color, not because of shape, but because lips show emotional availability, connection, sensitivity, and the possibility of intimacy. A man who is turned on will look at your lips again and again, even if he is shy, even if he is trying to hide it, even if he pretends to stay focused on the conversation. That glance is automatic. It reveals a desire he has not spoken out loud yet. But something deeper also happens in that moment. His gaze does not just stop at your lips. It stays in the area around them. The tilt of your head, the way you breathe when you listen, the softness in your mouth when you smile. These tiny details increase his attraction far more than most women understand. Then comes the internal shift, the moment when his breathing changes slightly, when he swallows without thinking, when his posture adjusts as if he is preparing for something he does not fully understand. That is the sign he is now fully locked in, fully drawn, and fully captivated by what he is seeing. But here is the part most women never catch. Before a man lets his eyes explore anything more sensual, he searches for safety. Not physical safety, but emotional safety. He wants to know, is this welcome? Is this moment shared? Is this connection real? And he gets that answer from your expression, your energy, your warmth, and the subtle openness in your face. If he senses even a small hint of yes, even a small sign of comfort, that is when his gaze slowly moves to the next point of attraction, a place that shows him more about your confidence, your femininity, your natural energy, and the quiet magnetism you carry without saying a single word. And once his eyes land there, everything begins to shift in a way most women never notice. But it marks the exact moment when a man shifts from being casually interested to being deeply physically turned on. It happens right after he studies your expression, your warmth, and the emotional energy in your face. Once he feels that spark might even be slightly mutual, his eyes drop, not in a rude way, but in a completely instinctive way. And where his gaze falls next reveals far more than most women imagine. The third place men look when they're truly turned on is your neckline and collarbone area. Not directly the chest, not at first, but the space between your face and your body. This spot tells him something different. It tells him about softness, elegance, rhythm, and a certain kind of quiet confidence. The way your collarbone catches light when you move. The way your shoulders shift with each breath. The natural framing created by a necklace or the shape of your top. Men notice all of these tiny details with surprising accuracy, even if they never mention them out loud. It's not about showing skin. It's about the delicate shape of that area, the subtle beauty that feels gentle yet impossible to ignore. When a man is turned on, his eyes return to this place again and again because it represents femininity in one of its simplest forms. A bare shoulder can be more attractive than anything intentionally revealing. A soft neckline can feel more seductive than something bold. And what makes this moment even more interesting is how emotional it becomes for him. This isn't only physical excitement, it's anticipation. It's the moment he feels himself leaning into the energy between you, wanting more, imagining more, sensing that something deeper is happening between you both. But the shift doesn't stop here. If the connection continues to feel open, relaxed, or gently responsive, his eyes move again. And this time the movement is slower. A man who is genuinely turned on doesn't rush this stage. He takes his time. The fourth place men stare at is your waist and hips. Not in a hungry or negative way, but in a very natural biological way. The curve of your waist, the sway of your hips, the way your body balances when you move, the way you shift your weight naturally from one foot to another. These small signals communicate confidence, grace, and natural femininity in a way words never could. A woman's hips tell their own story. How she walks, how she carries herself, how she fills the space around her. Men are drawn to this area because it represents both groundedness and sensuality at the same time. Even the simplest movements, reaching for something, turning slightly, adjusting your stance, can intensify a man's attraction instantly. But here's something most women don't realize. Men don't just stare when you are standing still. They stare the most when you are in motion. A walk, even a normal everyday walk, shows fluidity, confidence, and natural rhythm. The sway of the hips is an unspoken signal that hits men on a level they feel instead of analyze. It is one of the strongest triggers of attraction inside a man's mind. And then comes the final shift, the moment when a man is no longer just looking, he is imagining. Not imagining in a shallow way, but in a deeper emotional way, wondering how the connection between you would feel, how your energy fits with his, how you would interact if things moved closer. At this point, his eyes land in the most revealing place of all, your legs. Not because of shape or length, but because legs show movement, strength, and how you naturally inhabit your body. A man who is turned on will notice how you cross your legs, how you uncross them, how your stance changes depending on your mood, whether you feel relaxed or excited. Legs reveal tension, confidence, anticipation, and emotional openness. They are the final piece in the silent map of desire he traces inside his mind without ever speaking about it. And once his eyes have traveled through that entire path, from eyes to lips, from neckline to waist, from hips to legs, his attraction is fully activated, his desire becomes alive, and the energy between you grows into something neither one of you can easily ignore. Especially because there is another truth most women never expect. When a man reaches this last stage of attraction, when his gaze has already moved down the natural path of your body, something surprising happens, something much stronger than the staring itself. His imagination turns on, not the silly kind, not the surface kind, but the deep, instinctive kind that men rarely talk about because even they don't fully understand what is happening inside them. And this is exactly where women misunderstand men the most. They think the staring is only physical. They think it is just habit or instinct or impulse. But the truth goes further than that. Men don't stare only because they are visual. They stare because they are looking for emotional connection without exposing their feelings too soon. They read your energy like a silent message. They watch how you react, how your posture changes, how your breathing shifts, how your presence responds to theirs. All these tiny details blend together into something that affects them far more strongly than they ever admit. And this is the point, right here, where the fifth place men stare becomes far more meaningful than women realize. Because the last place a man looks at when he's completely turned on is not just a single body part. It's your entire silhouette, your full outline, the way your body forms a shape in the light, in the room, in the environment around you. Men take a mental step back. Their eyes zoom out. They take in the whole image of you, not in separate pieces anymore, but as one full, complete impression of feminine energy. The outline of your figure is what locks their attraction into place. It's the final confirmation, the moment where desire shifts from instinct to intention. This is where he decides if he wants to move closer, if he wants to follow that spark, if he wants to remember you. Your silhouette reveals something no single part of your body can show. Flow, balance, harmony, confidence, and presence. The way you fill the space you're in, the way you move through it, the natural rhythm in the way you stand or walk. Men may never describe it that way, but they feel it immediately. Your silhouette is like your aura in physical form. And when a man is turned on, this is the image that stays in his mind the strongest. He will replay it later. He will remember how you stood, how you shifted, the softness in your posture, the shape of your body against the background. It becomes a memory even before the moment is over. But there is another surprising layer most women never notice. When a man looks at your silhouette, he is not only admiring your shape, he is observing your confidence, how you carry yourself when you are not thinking about it, how comfortable you seem in your own skin. That natural realness, unposed, unforced, unfiltered, is one of the strongest triggers of attraction inside his mind. Because men are not only drawn to beauty, they are drawn to ease, to naturalness, to the kind of presence that feels effortless, yet magnetic. And here is the twist. Men don't need a woman to look perfect. They need her to look real, alive, expressive in her own quiet way. A silhouette isn't about perfection. It's about energy. And when that energy matches his, when your posture silently shows openness, softness, or subtle confidence, it hits him deeper than anything else he has looked at. This is the moment when his gaze becomes softer, when he stops thinking so much and simply takes you in, when attraction slowly shifts into real fascination. And even here, most women miss one thing, one detail that increases everything a man feels after his eyes have followed this entire silent path. It isn't physical, it isn't something you can show, it isn't something he can look at directly, but it's the one thing that decides whether his attraction grows stronger or fades the second you step away. It's the energy you leave hanging in the space between you both, a presence he can't touch, can't explain, but feels with surprising strength the moment it appears. Men rarely talk about this because most of them don't even understand that this is the real reason their desire rises or falls. They think they are reacting to your appearance, your body, the natural direction their eyes travel. But what keeps their attention fixed? What changes the pace of their breathing? What brings their mind back to you even when you're no longer there? It's your vibe, your emotional tone, the atmosphere you create without doing anything on purpose. And this is the final truth many women never hear. When a man has taken in every part of his attraction, from your eyes to your smile, to your neckline, to your shape, to your legs, and finally the outline of your body, he becomes sharply sensitive to your energy. Not the energy you try to show, but the one that slips out when you're calm, when you're fully present, when you're simply yourself without effort. This is the moment everything shifts. Because men aren't drawn only by what they see, they're drawn by what they sense. A confident feminine presence affects him more deeply than any physical feature. A warm and playful presence pulls him in before he even understands why. A quietly mysterious or softly self-contained presence makes him stare longer, harder, deeper. And here is something women often don't notice. A man's attraction grows when he feels that your energy responds to his. Not with big signals, not with obvious flirting, but with something gentler and softer. The slight lift of your chin, the calmer tone in your voice, the way you lean a tiny bit closer, the way your eyes soften for a heartbeat longer than needed. These tiny movements create a loop between you, an unspoken connection that speeds up everything he was already feeling. Men fall into that loop without even trying. But here's a twist many don't expect. A man can find a woman physically beautiful and still lose interest in minutes if her energy doesn't match what he felt at first. Because physical beauty is only the spark, but emotional energy is the flame. It is what makes him stay. It is what makes him remember. It is what makes him want more. And this energy isn't about being too confident or too feminine. It's about being real. The kind of realness that allows your natural vibe to come through without blocking it with fear, insecurity, or too much thinking. Many women don't realize how often their energy becomes tense when they worry about how they look, when they feel uncomfortable, when they try to control the moment instead of feeling it. Men sense that. They notice the tension even before they see anything. And just as fast as attraction can rise, it can fall. But the opposite is also true. When a woman is relaxed, comfortable, steady in her body, and fully present, her energy becomes magnetic, naturally magnetic. That's the energy that makes a man stare without planning to. That's the energy that causes his pupils to widen, his voice to drop, his body to lean in. That's the energy that makes him think of you hours later, replaying your outline, your gentle smile, the warmth in your eyes. And the most interesting part is you don't need to do anything extra to create that kind of pull. You don't need to perform. You don't need to push yourself. You don't need to change who you are. You only need to let yourself be fully in the moment, natural, open, and comfortable. Because once he feels that presence, once he senses that emotional opening, even slightly, even for one breath, his attraction grows into something more powerful than staring. It becomes desire mixed with curiosity, fascination blended with longing, interest paired with imagination. And that's the moment he doesn't just look at you. He quietly hopes you'll look back. Something in him shifts the moment you return his gaze. A small tightening in his shoulders, a soft breath he didn't plan to take, a quick spark in his eyes that reveals thoughts he tries to hide. Because when your eyes meet his, even for a second, the whole energy changes. Attraction stops being something he only feels and becomes something you both share. And nothing increases a man's desire more than sensing that the moment is happening with him, not just around him. This is when everything inside him sharpens. His senses become stronger. His awareness widens. He becomes fully conscious of the space between you, the closeness of your bodies, the way you're standing, the softness in your expression. Men don't just see, they read, they observe without knowing they're doing it. And what they're really searching for now is a sign that you feel something too. Not loud signs, not big shows of interest, just a gentle reflection of his own energy. A tiny light in your eyes, a slow blink, a softer breath, a relaxed face. These small signals affect him more than any physical detail because they speak the one language men respond to most naturally, presence. A man becomes far more drawn in when he feels that a woman is truly there with him, not lost in her thoughts, not hiding, not pretending, just present. But here is the part many women don't understand. Presence does not mean being bold. It does not mean taking control. It does not mean acting seductive on purpose. It means allowing your natural rhythm to be seen, allowing your curiosity to show on your face, allowing your interest to soften your body.